Okay, this is chapter 5. Okay, there we go, chapter 5. One of the things I need you to remember when you make up your character, the character that you're going to be using, the person needs to have a problem that you've never had or isn't close to you. If you've got a close relative with that problem, I wouldn't use it. The problem is that it could potentially cause relapse if you've had it before, or it could make you feel like you've got the problem if a close relative has it. So when you create your character, make sure that their problem isn't your problem or isn't a problem you've had. Okay, so we're talking about chapter 5. There we go. Oh, that's kind of cute. Okay. Developing working relationships. Practitioners should begin a professional relationship by determining how they will present themselves and how they will behave. It is important for the practitioner to set aside their personal feelings and concerns in order to fully focus on their client. And of course, we've talked about this before. It is something that you have to do. You're trying to help them. You're not trying to help yourself. If you've got an agenda, like making them in your image, creating them in your image, then that's not going to work for them because they have a problem that they need to take care of. And they need to take care of it in their own context. It is important that a practitioner accepts and understands the client's beliefs, their perceptions, their stereotypes, their biases, their prejudices, and life experiences. Um, there's no way that you can take something away from somebody, make them forget the fact that they used to live in California, or the fact that they used to live in Canada or whatever. This isn't something that you can do. You have to deal with the client as they present themselves to you. The core interpersonal qualities that a practitioner brings to a relationship include their warmth, their respect, their genuineness, their empathy, and their acceptance. And of course, if you can't project all 5 of these things, then possibly you're in the wrong field. You need to rethink the idea of becoming a counselor. Trust can be developed by being understanding or empathic, listening attentively, and showing respect. Warmth, being kind and accepting in a non-judgmental way. Expression of warmth is one culture may be perceived differently in another culture. A good example is as we look at all of these things, these are different ways of showing respect. When I was up north working on the Fort Belknap Reservation, that tribe is they hug a lot. Men will hug other men on a fairly frequent basis. But since I've been down on the Navajo reservation, this isn't something that's really done very frequently. Cheek touching is commonly used to show warmth in many cultures around the world. That's you touching your cheek to their cheek. And of course, that's common in select areas. And this is something that you have to remember. Now, this is really kind of interesting. This is something that we ran into in when I was in Japan. In Japan, you never bow like this. In Japan, you bow like this. But this is more Cambodia, Vietnam, wherever they're Buddhists, but they're not Buddhists. They're Shinto in Japan. So this is the way you bow in Japan. Empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotions, their feelings, their thoughts, and behavior from that person's point of view. As we attune to another person's internal state, a feeling of being connected develops. Being empathic involves having the willingness and the flexibility to put yourself in the other person's reality, which is not the easiest thing in the world, I can assure you. Empathy is understanding assumption. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to deal with somebody who is having a psychotic episode. somebody that's schizophrenic, because their reality is completely uh, unmoored. It's unanchored in reality, or unanchored in what we see as reality. Empathy is understanding assumptions, beliefs, and or worldview. Empathy requires understanding another person's subjective experience while maintaining the capacity to differentiate from that person. Empathy is not the same as pity or sympathy. Pity involves sorrow or grief aroused by someone else's suffering. Sympathy involves feeling affected by whatever affected the other person. Respect or unconditional positive regard is expressed by affirming and appreciating clients without condoning their harmful behaviors. Looking for the good, regarding for thoughts, feelings, and abilities, noticing, acknowledging, and highlighting clients' strengths, capabilities, resilience, coping ability, potential, and resources, being polite and following appropriate cultural norms. One of the things that I've noticed in today's society is that when somebody, even if you like somebody, even if you're trying to show respect to somebody, a lot of times what we're trying to do in our conversations is compete with that person. And in order to show respect, we need to allow them to be the most important person in the conversation, and that's not easy, especially if you're one of those people who, if somebody tells you a story about driving fast, you have to tell them a story about driving faster. That isn't respect. Respect is where you keep your mouth shut and you allow them to brag or to tell you about something that they've done. Genuineness, being sincere and authentic, being real and allowing your humanness and uniqueness to be seen, being natural, being honest and forthright, admitting your mistakes, which is not the easiest thing in the world. A lot of people like to try to bury their mistakes, pretend that they didn't happen. We have a president right now that can't admit that he made a mistake, and of course it's not a good symbol for our for the future. We need to admit when we did something wrong. And this is one of the reasons why the Black Lives Matter movement right now is so important, because what we're actually doing, and as indigenous people, you are well aware that white people have made lots and lots of mistakes with how they have dealt with people that weren't white. This is a good first step, is admitting that they have history has not been kind to African Americans, and it continues not to be kind to African Americans. And of course, that's what the whole Black Lives Matter movement is all about. Offering advice: it is inappropriate to offer advice until you have fully understood the people involved, their challenges and situation, and collaborated with the clients on setting goals. Offering advice before you know what the clients have already tried can be experienced as not respecting their strengths and their capacities. Reassuring in an attempt to reduce pain. These are common mistakes that people make. Yeah, we're talking about common mistakes. Reassuring in an attempt to reduce pain. We tend to reassure people. The pain clients feel about their problem can motivate them to solve the problem. Negating the importance of the client's pain can lead them to feel that they are not fully understood or respected. For example, telling someone it will all work out in the end. Don't worry about it indicates a capacity to stop worrying on command. Other common mistakes: offering excuses, help clients set goals. What you need to do is help clients set goals. Asking leading questions that give advice. Dominating through teaching. Teaching is dominating or pushy. It can suggest one right way. Communicating in a dominating way tends to invite people to feel shamed or rebellious, to withdraw or become defensive and argue. This implies there is only one way to resolve any issue. And of course, there are lots of different ideas and lots of different ways to do these things. Labeling, a sophisticated way to judge, criticize, or blame another person, is not helpful. Interrogating why questions are particularly problematic because they sometimes imply judgment and also invite defensiveness. So labeling and interrogating are two things you should stay away from. Core interpersonal qualities: developing your ability to be empathic, reading novels and professional literature about the people from different backgrounds, joining in activities, talking to and getting to know others who have different experiences, attending classes or workshops focused on specific groups of people, traveling to different countries and spending time with local residents, doing volunteer work in communities or neighborhoods very different from your own, watching popular movies about people who are different from you. These are all good ways to learn about other people. The reality is, there has been a movement in the United States to pretend that everybody is the same. That's the diversity movement. The reality is that we're not, and we come from different places, and we need to recognize that just because we're different doesn't make us not as good. And of course, that's the multicultural approach to things. So it's me assuming that everybody is a white bread Hoosier boy. That would be a drastic mistake. To assume that people in I am like everybody else is really kind of silly. And now we're going to talk about some of the movies that you can potentially watch. Some of these are relatively dated, but they all give you information about that culture. Maybe it's that culture back in the 90s, maybe it's that culture in the early 2000s, but it's still a window to how people either are or how they were in the past. And understanding history, and this is something that I've argued over and over again. We need to understand history. We need to look at things from a historical perspective. If we can see things from a historical perspective, maybe we can understand why people have changed over time. So here are some of the movies that you could watch. This is Real Women Have Curves, is a movie about second generation Mexican American girls, at least that girl. Hoop Dreams is a movie about inner city African American males playing basketball. Mystic River is an inner city white boy who is sexually abused. I think the individual that was abused was Sean Penn in this movie. I think so. Girl Interrupted is about a white teenage girl who is mentally ill. One of these two people in this picture commits suicide. American History X is about a white boy who is in a neo-Nazi group. So if you watch this movie, you learn about what neo-Nazis are and how they think. Bend It Like Beckham, one of my favorite movies. This is actually, I can't remember her name. Anyway, that was her first movie. Keira Knightley, that's her name. That was her first movie. Second generation Indian girl living in London. It's actually about the girl from India. And these are her relatives, and they don't want her to play. And she wants to play really badly. And she and Keira Knightley are best friends. And then they fall in love with the same guy, of course. And, well, we won't go into how things turn out. I Am Sam is a movie about people with developmental disabilities. Once again, it has to do, Sean Penn is the individual with the developmental disability. Radio, fascinating movie. It's about people with developmental disabilities. My Family, Three Generations of Dreams. It's a Mexican-American family living in Los Angeles. What's Eating Gilbert Grape? Well, it's kind of an old movie. It's a white rural family dealing with issues related to poverty, autism, obesity, depression, and suicide. And I can't remember which problem. I know that that's Johnny Depp. He didn't have autism. Well, maybe he did have autism. Actually, who else is in this movie? As a kid, what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio's in this movie. He's only like 12 years old at the time. So Johnny Depp's in this movie, and so is Leonardo DiCaprio. Soul Food is a movie about an African American family facing serious illness and death. Sleeping with the Enemy. I hope you've seen this movie. It's quite an interesting movie. It's about a woman struggling with with a partner who is physically abusive. Tina, What's Love Got to Do with It, is about Tina Turner and Ike Turner. I guess Ike Turner was abusive. I've never actually seen the movie. But it's about women struggling with partners who are physically abusive. The Notebook is about people facing challenges related to aging. I've never seen this movie either. On Golden Pond, people facing challenges related to aging. Once again, Driving Miss Daisy is about people facing challenges related to aging, but it's also about the interaction between an African Americans and the dominant white society. Iris is about people facing challenges related to aging. I've never seen it actually. 28 Days, one of the best movies I've ever seen about women with drug and alcohol problems. Sandra Bullock does a really good job in this movie. Losing Isaiah is about women and drug alcohol problems. The person with the drug and alcohol problem is Halle Berry in this movie. When a Man Loves a Woman with Andy Garcia and Meg Ryan. It's about a woman with drug and alcohol problems. Excellent movie again if you want to understand how alcoholics think and how they manipulate people. Gracie's Choice is about women with drug and alcohol problems. I've never actually seen this one. Boys Don't Cry is about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Hilary Swank won an Academy Award for this movie, if I'm not mistaken. She is a lesbian in this movie, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. Boys on the Side is about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Really pretty good movie. Philadelphia, this Tom Hanks won an Academy Award for this movie. He is a gay man who has contracted AIDS, and he's suing the company that fired him because he had AIDS. So it's really, Denzel Washington is his lawyer. And of course, this was I don't know, about 20 years ago. You can see how young Tom Hanks looks. Anyway, it was when society started to shift to accept homosexuality as a norm rather than as an aberration. So this is a really important movie as far as discrimination discrimination against sexual orientation. Really fascinating movie. Brokeback Mountain is also about two gay cowboys. It has Heath Ledger and Jake Gyllenhaal in it. Crying Game is an English movie, strangely. Well, it's not that strange, I guess. The Crying Game, and it's about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Desert Hearts, I've never seen the movie, but evidently it's about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Longtime Companion is about people dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. Never seen this movie either. Milk, there we go. Sean Penn again. People dealing with issues related to discrimination and sexual orientation. He plays Harvey Milk. If he's not, maybe he, yeah, I think he plays Harvey Milk. Anyway, Harvey Milk was the first gay politician to win public office in California. This is in San Francisco, and he was murdered because of his homosexuality. And the individual that murdered him said that it wasn't his fault. He was high on Twinkies. It was the famous Twinkie defense. Some of the he said that the sugar and some of the additives in Twinkies made him go insane. As weird as it may seem. As Good as It Gets is about a white man who is dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. That's Jack Nicholson. And he's dealing with he's an obsessive compulsive individual who falls in love with somebody, and with a young lady, and he keeps abusing a gay man down the hall, or verbally abusing him. And of course, this is about his awakening, so that he's not abusive. Certainly, strangely enough, the two of them fall in love with that dog. Both men fall in love with the dog, and that was the connection between the two of them. A Beautiful Mind. This is an Academy Award winner. It's about a man with schizophrenia. That's Russell Crowe. He's a mathematician. Children of a Lesser God is about a white woman who is deaf. My Left Foot is about a man with cerebral palsy. That's Daniel Day-Lewis. He won a Best Actor award. The Green Mile is about a man in prison. Dead Man Walking, once again, Sean Penn. He is to be executed. It's about him, his last days. And Susan Sarandon plays a nun who is there to comfort him on his last days. Men in Prison, The Shawshank Redemption. This is on television all the time. It's kind of an pretty interesting movie about men in prison back in the 50s and 60s. The Saint of Fort Washington is about people who are homeless. I used to live in Fort Washington. It's right outside of Washington, D.C. Monsters Ball, really weird movie. It's about the struggles of a single African American mother. And, well, we won't go into what happens. As Billy Bob Thornton, Halle Berry is the single African American mother. I think this was Heath Ledger's last movie, if I'm not mistaken, before he died of a drug overdose. The Soloist is about an African American man who is homeless. He has schizophrenia, but he plays the cello. He's very good at playing the cello. The Joy Luck Club is a movie about second-generation Asian American women. Sorry. Eat, Drink, Man, Woman is about challenges of a Taiwanese family. Amrika is about a divorced Palestinian woman and her son in the United States. Rhapsody in August is about Japanese children who visit their grandmother who lived through the bombing of Nagasaki. Of course, Nagasaki, the second atomic bomb was dropped on Nagasaki. The first one was on Hiroshima. Stand and Deliver is about a teacher in low-income Hispanic neighborhood who teaches his Hispanic students calculus. He's a math teacher. Four Little Girls is about challenges of being an African American in Birmingham, Alabama. They're the four little girls that were killed in a bombing of a black church back in the 1960s. Do the Right Thing is a movie made by Spike Lee. It's about the challenges of an African American. Um, there's Spike Lee right there. That's Danny Aiello, who plays his boss, and he owns a pizza place. Goes to Mississippi. Challenges of that an African American has faced. The Long Walk Home. Interesting book about a white woman who has a great deal of respect for a black woman who is her maid, and eventually the two join forces to help end segregation in the South. The Celebration is about an upper middle class Danish multi generational family dealing with incest and violence. I've never seen it. It's obviously made in 1998. Yesterday is a rural African American family where both parents are HIV positive. Tuesdays with Maury is about a white man diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease. Rain Man is a white man diagnosed as autistic savant. That is Dustin Hoffman, of course, and Tom Cruise is his brother. He's trying to get him to. I can't remember. I can't remember the plot. Anyway, interesting. Lars and the Real Girl is a white man dealing with a mental illness. Cyrus is a single white mother who has devoted her life to her 21-year-old son, and I think that's Cyrus. Marissa Tomei, of course, is the mother, and Jonah Hill is Cyrus, and John C. Reilly is trying to date. Marissa Tomei. I've never seen the movie, actually. The Diving Bell and the Butterfly is about a white man adapting to being mute and paralyzed. Pieces of April is about a white middle-class family, oldest daughter estranged from family. The mother is ill and dying, and aging grandparents. Sounds like a real fun movie. Katie Holmes, Patricia Clarkson, Derek Luke, with Sean Hayes and Oliver Platt. Okay, that's Katie Holmes on the cover there. Precious won an Academy Award a number of years ago. That's about an African American teenager living on welfare, pregnant as a result of incest. The Namesake. I've actually seen this movie. This is a really, really good movie. If you want to understand how people from India think, it's a really good movie. It's about a first-generation Indian man trying to make his way first in India and then eventually in the United States. Just a really good movie. So if you want to understand how the Asian Indians their mindset, this is a very good movie. City Island is about a white blue-collar family dealing with a grown son recently released from prison. As Heaven as it is in Heaven is about a white Swedish community with issues related to impact of bullying on a child and domestic violence. Okay. Winter's Bone is about a poor white Appalachian family, father missing and mother mentally ill. Good Night, Mr. Tom is about a white British family, single mentally ill mother, neglect and abuse of children. So if you want to learn about how the English think, it's a good movie to do it. Children of Heaven is about a poor Iranian family struggling to manage. American Beauty is about a family facing challenges. Really strange movie. Lost in Translation, challenges faced by white adults. Up in the Air has George Clooney in it. That's about challenges faced by white adults. Life as a House is about challenges faced by white adults. I've never actually seen this movie. $1 Million Baby, there's Hilary Swank again. Challenges faced by white adults. It has Clint Eastwood and Morgan Freeman in it. She's a female boxer, and she's she fights for the world championship. I don't remember. Edward Scissorhands. This is the dumbest movie. Well, let me not say that. Okay. It's challenges faced by white adults. I'm sure there's somebody out there that loves this movie, but I find it kind of weird. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is about challenges faced by white adults. Has Jim Carrey, Kate Winslet, Kirsten Dunst, Mark Ruffalo, Elijah Wood, and Tom Wilkinson. Never seen it. Here we go. Powwow Highway. American Indian adults seek understanding on a road trip to rescue a relative. It looks like it's in the Southwest. I've never actually seen this movie, but I've seen this one. This is a really good one. Smoke Signals. It's about an American Indian teenagers from Washington State seeking understanding on a road trip to find their father. Actually, the father has died, and they go down. They're from Colville, the Colville Reservation. They actually come to the Navajo Reservation, so that's kind of interesting. Skins. I've never seen this movie either. It's about American Indian adults battling greed and displacement in Sioux country, and that is the end of the chapter. So get your history in. Try to come up with something that you can, a character that you can inhabit and help your fellow students with. We'll talk more about that later. This is the 4th week coming up, so we're doing okay. We'll probably start counseling after the 10th week. So I have to accelerate this whole process, don't I? Or I'll never get all these chapters in. Anyway, there we go. That is the end of today's lecture. There we go. Oh, hey.